Welcome to On the Chain. This is Jeff here with co-host Chip. What's going on, Chip? What's going on, everybody in the On the Chain community out there getting interested, getting fired up about crypto? April is coming. April is all about the Bitcoin halving. Is there a target, a big target with $100,000 in the middle with that Bitcoin halving? And will the XRP value be completely unleashed and go ballistic due to the Bitcoin rise due to their halving as well? So that's all the different conversation, because as Bitcoin goes up, the market typically will trend up with it. How much of an impact will it have on the greatest stable coin of all time, which is XRP, sitting stable at the 51 cent mark? Uh, that's it, Chip. That's what we're going to talk about today.
Yeah,
Actually, we're going to talk about a lot more, right?
we're also going to talk a lot about more too. Also, a little bit of dust up in the community over on XRP community. So we'll dive into that as well. But let's get going, guys. Let's go.
Welcome to On the Chain.
Come to On the Chain, everybody. Thank you for joining us here. Really appreciate it. Whether you're on the first run or the rewatch, say where you are coming in from. We want to know. We want to know, Jeff, don't we?
Maybe.
We might want to know.
We might.
Jeff says we may want to know where you're coming in from. No, put it in there. Drop it in. Come on.
Definitely.
Ray Run said he's ready. We had a little bit of technical things as always, which is why we're usually late. But sometimes we're talking though. Sometimes we are.
We were talking.
Sometimes look what happened to my. What happened to my hair? My God, look at that. Yeah, it's been growing for a little bit. What are you going to say about that? Look at this, Jeff. I want to talk about the first mover Americas. Look at this Bitcoin scene topping 50K this weekend. So this is this is monumental, right? Because, and it's a good thing for the markets, because when we see that this actually goes up and we get to a good point where there will lag in the rest of the market, because usually Bitcoin sets the bar. Bitcoin rises, the altcoins come with it. This is a weird sort of a year, 2024. By the way, today is February 10th as we sit here today. I mean, if you're in Australia, we're getting close to the February 11th, but it is the Chinese New Year of the Dragon. Supposed to bring a lot of good fortune. It's supposed to be a really good year. The year of the rabbit's usually a little bit more tentative, which was 2023. Now we are in the year of the dragon. I was fortunate to be born. I was born a dragon, so I was supposed to have extra good luck, Jeff. I don't know how that's going to work, but we shall see. Look at Rough Rican.
Damn, look at that.
Rough Rican.
Gifted 5
nice
on the chain live memberships. Look at that.
Beautiful, man. Look at this.
That's nice, man.
Way to go.
You're gonna start gifting those out. That's really cool. Thank you for that.
That's really awesome, man.
For getting
nice
people
way to treat the community. Beautiful.
Yeah, it's very cool. Very cool. And we got Tis the End coming in from Boynton Beach. We got
Boynton Beach.
Where you guys are from? Are you guys here in Florida? Are you guys somewhere else? And Thomas is like, why aren't you guys above 100,000 subs? That's the question.
Well,
why are we?
Bigger question is how we lost.
We have a lot of great
1,000 subs over last year. We don't know where they go, because we look at the last 30 videos. This is newsy content. It's not evergreen content. We're not like, here's a tutorial on how to, participate in X airdrop. It's not like one of these you'd be looking at. It's you watch it and you're done. So there's no loss of subs. So we don't know.
I'll tell you, where everyone's going, Chip. I'll tell you where everyone's going. I was doing some research today on there, and I'm seeing all these shorts with all these new faces that I've never seen before, talking about this is it, XRP to 10,000. Is XRP going to blow up this month? Is XRP going to blow up next month? And there's all these little short videos and some, short, in terms of not the shorts, but, shorter segment videos, and that's what it's all about. And they're getting massive views. I was looking, like, one of them had like 74,000 views on this video. Is XRP going to 10,000? Well, if you see that, you don't need to watch the video, and it's just so crazy, just to see. How about tune into some real serious news? And that's who we get over here. We get people that want to hear real content, right? And that's it. We're not about the fluff, even though we have some fun with the thumbnails and the titles.
We like to have some fun. We goof on everybody else. Hello from Bitcoin Halving headquarters here at the Flapjack Shack in Iron Mountain. That's a lot going on right there. Look at
our only viewer over there on Twitch. Welcome, Twitch viewers. And if you're checking us out on Rumble, make sure you guys give us a follow on Rumble. If you're over here on YouTube, check us out over on Rumble too. Trying to build up that Rumble community. Rumble builds a little bit slow, but we're on the path. So we're at total of 418 followers, which is pretty awesome, given the short amount of time that we've been streaming over on Rumble. And we're building that Rumble community. So it's pretty cool. People like watching over there, you know, people like watching over here. We're on both. Right now we're streaming on both. We're on YouTube, we're on X, and we're on Rumble. So check us out where you're at.
Places. And
if you want to engage with the community, come over to YouTube for right now, or Rumble, or YouTube.
Or
That's
YouTube, or Rumble, or YouTube, whatever. And let me just, I'm going to do this. I want to play this. I want to talk about the XRP Gold Coast 2024 because Jeff and I are emceeing the event, but there's an amazing amount of people. And they put together a little promo video. I only watched a little bit, but let's just watch the video and let me know if you hear sound. It's just background music, but this is a little promo here for the XRP Gold Coast, the Miami Beach of Australia, you should say, if you want to see the South Beach of Australia. Here we go. So let's go. There we go. Look at so let's rewind this a little bit. So there you go, right there. So look at big players. You got John Deaton, Aaron McDonald, Dirk from X Spectre. We got attorney Bill Morgan, Neil Smith from Ripple, Crypto Eddie, Scott Chamberlain, Ross Edwards. Jay Cambo from Spend the Bits. Bearable Bull's going to be there. Jeff and I will be there. Shen, which runs a couple cool NFT projects and the gaming project, the Zertmon project, Jerome Fowry, Josh Kim, Sadaf Jiran, and Lisa Edwards and Jeff Moy from Y Finance. So it's a pretty, and this is just some of them. This isn't everybody, but let's listen in.
All right.
And then for the people that, there we go, Chip and Jeff right there. Bam, John Deaton, Crypto Eddie. There we go. So run through of everybody there. Mr. Bill Morgan, Josh Kim, XRP Korea, Jay Kembo, Scott Chamberlain from Evernote, the Bearable Bull, Sadaf Consultants, Marika Pianka, Doctor, and then Dirk, Lisa Edwards, another analyst, Jeff Moy from Y Finance, Aaron McDonald from Futureverse, Jerome Fowry from Immersive, Neil Smith from Ripple, Ross Edwards from Ripple Labs. Gold Coast, baby, 2024.
On sale now. Look at that.
The cool thing too is that if you there you go, Expector's a big mod. So the other thing too is that you can get a virtual pass too. It's about $125 for for the whole days. And it's again, this is an amazing event, and a lot of why it's pretty cool is the fact that it's a nonprofit, right? It's a not-for-profit, meaning that there's not somebody like raking in. This isn't put on to make money. It's put on because a lot of dedicated individuals over in Australia wanted to have an educational conference. And I'm not saying there's anything bad about a for-profit. I'm just saying they made the tickets affordable. They did everything in a great way to give back to the community. I think that's really admirable. So I thought that we'd talk about that. And if you guys are interested in going, tell them Chip and Jeff sent you. We want to would love to see who from the XRP fam is going to be down with us. I know that Rob McDermott is possibly
Phoenix
gonna maybe make the trip over with us, which would be phenomenal.
Very sweet. Got coming in from Phoenix. Check this out. What is the Apple Vision Pro?
Oh, that must be freaking awesome, man. That's awesome. Sweet. Watching on the do you have it in a big screen in front of you? The weird thing about that is, like, I would never want people seeing me. I'm watching people in restaurants doing this, and I'm like, dude, it's I don't know, man, it's too much. If I'm sitting at home by myself with ski goggles on, fair enough. But if I'm driving the Tesla truck down the road, and
I saw that, yeah.
Stuff, I'm like, dude, it just has like, and then and then the Simpsons predicted the whole thing with walking around, look exactly the same with the big wire hanging. The wire hanging too is too much for me. It's like, that's 1.0, and people are gonna laugh at you. Yep. Do you remember the Google Glasses thing? It used to be like on the side, you'd be like, choot, 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 choot.
Yep.
You remember those? Everybody wanted to have a pair of those. What were they called?
Google Glass.
Google Glass. And people got hammered for how ridiculous they look, but at least they look like a pair of glasses. Right?
That's right. Yeah.
And they were cool. They were pretty cool. They didn't do a lot, but it was just too early.
Yeah, it was a little bit early. But Mark's watching us from his Motorola Bag Phone, which is
Mark bringing the comedy, man. Really,
for the youngins out there.
Beautiful.
The youngins out there, you're portable phone that could fit in your pocket, way before the smartphone, way before iPhone, before the flip phone, before all that good stuff. It was a bag phone. Those
Bag
are pretty
phone.
sweet. And
It was a bag phone. I had a bag phone too. You carted it to your car, and it was giant. And it had the battery was super heavy because it had this massive battery in it. It was like a small car battery.
Yep.
It was
That's cool.
It was ridiculous. The bag
The bag phone.
Oh, that's so awesome.
Digital asset coming in from California and loving some of that badass Yeti's coffee, which
is amazing coffee. I mean, Jeff, we are snobs when it comes to coffee, but there's what really makes it so good and unique, and the reason it's a little bit on the pricey side because it is roasted to order. The order comes in, the beans get roasted and shipped out. And one of our friends came back from Colombia, which is obviously where one of the places where our beans are sourced from. But I looked on the bag, Jeff, and I was like, oh, this, and what she had said to me is like, oh, this is fresh. This is right from the farm. And I'm like, cool. But then I flipped the bag over, and what was interesting was the date on it was 9/29, which happened to be the date of the proper party. And I'm like, well, that's 6 months old already. Okay. It's like, it was from the farm, but it was 6 months old. So when you get the beans roasted and they sit around, they usually sit for anywhere from 6 to 12 months on a good day, maybe 3 days. Most of that stuff's been sitting there over a year.
And that's why with our coffee, you can eat it right out of the bag. You don't even have to.
I do. When I get a new bag, I crunch those.
I'll get a handful of them and just start eating them, and it's like eating peanuts, and they're just so appealing. I had some Segfredo actually this morning. We were roasting that up or making that, and I tried taking one of the beans out of the bag, and I tried to eat it, and it was hard. I broke my tooth. I'm like, what the hell is that? Where's the fresh roasted badass Yetis?
Yeah,
that's
it's not
the way to go.
Then.
No.
So one of the things, there was this big interview with what up,
Jeff and Keanu.
There was Keanu. There you go. There was this amazing interview, and it was a 2-hour interview with Tucker Carlson and Vladimir Putin. And I want to play one of the clips. There's a bunch of clips, but I want to play this one clip where, I mean, you got to imagine if you're going to promote yourself, you're going to promote your country. There was a lot of stuff that we kind of already knew, and some of the things that were confirmed. And I had a couple back and forth because one of the things that the U.S. promised, back in the day when they transformed from the USSR to Russia, right, and they started with the democracy, one of the things that was promised to them was that NATO would not expand east. It would not do that, right? Well, this wasn't a NATO promise. This was a promise by the U.S. And after I did some more digging on it, I did find that there were some documents and memos and stuff that were actually found because there's a big back and forth. There was like, well, we asked, we asked Mikhail Gorbachev and he said no, and then he said yes, and he said no. But apparently there are documents and memos that do kind of confirm this. And interestingly enough, there was some talk about that as well. Obviously, as you can imagine, the left was, I saw
not happy.
Adam Schiff was mad. He's like, a useful idiot. And I said the useless idiot, right? I retweeted his tweet, but he is his ex post. But here's the thing. Let's listen in on this. But I don't know. I want to see if he's landing some good points. What do you guys think? Let's watch this. I want to hear from you guys. What do you think? Is he landing some good points? Is he on target here? Let's listen in. Here we go. Let's make sure that this is up. I have a chance to download all. Oh, let's make sure it's all the way up. Here we go. Let me know if you can't hear it, Jeff.
To use the dollar as a tool of foreign policy struggle is one of the biggest strategic mistakes made by the U.S. political leadership. The dollar is the cornerstone of the United States power, but they won't stop printing. What does the debt of $33 trillion tell us about? As soon as the political leadership decided to use the US dollar as a tool of political struggle, a blow was dealt to this American power. I would not like to use any strong language, but it is a stupid thing to do and a grave mistake. Look at what is going on in the world. Even the United States allies are now downsizing their dollar reserves. Seeing this, everyone starts looking for ways to protect themselves. But the fact that the United States applies restrictive measures to certain countries such as placing restrictions on transactions, freezing assets, etc., causes grave concern and sends a signal to the whole world. Do you even realize what is going on or not? Does anyone in the United States realize this? What are you doing? You're cutting yourself off. All experts say this. Ask any intelligent and thinking person in the United States what the dollar means for the US. You're killing it with your own hands.
Thoughts on that, Jeff?
Man, I'll tell you, Tucker Carlson hit it out of the park with this one. Got so much flack from the leftists, communists in this country. And as they attacked him for going to get some feedback, but what he's talking about is so spot on. This we've seen it. It doesn't matter. Blue team, red team. It doesn't matter. They've printed this our country into oblivion. The way back, the path back is going to be extremely difficult. The worst part has happened over the past 3 years, which we've completely isolated ourselves from the world, from an economic perspective. Because if we look at like the BRICS nations, and you could laugh at them and you could try to undermine them, but over the past year, they've had a lot of strategic positionings coming on board with them, and we're starting to see more and more of this isolation against the U.S. And he's right about the decrease in reserve currency holding. But the other point is that U.S. allies around the world are starting to lose faith in the U.S. They're losing trust in the U.S. They see what a mockery this country has become, with the guy that's currently in the White House. We've seen the travesty that's kind of unfolded just this past week. And they know, and that it just reeks of destabilization and being irrational. And so the one leader of the free world, which was the U.S., both economically and politically, is currently cutting their own knees, cutting themselves at their own knees. And that's what he's talking about. It's a disaster. We're printing into oblivion, and the way back is going to be tough. It's doable. But the only rescue could come at a complete changeover of ideology in terms of what's leading this country into the pit right now, and that's got to change. That'll all change in 2024. But he's so spot on. Why does it have to take that leadership? Why does it have to take Putin an interview with Tucker Carlson to reveal what's real? And what's really happening over here.
Right, and also too, what it told me. I mean, after watching that too, like we knew sort of about the NATO, but Russia, and again, you got to remember that you got to take it with a grain of salt. But Russia was attempting to kind of come clean and come good, and wanted to be entered into NATO. And there's always this aversion. They were told no. They were told, he did compliment that he had good relationships with like Bush, second Bush, and he had some good relationships there. He also mentioned Trump. That was the only thing at the time he was mentioned, but he said that even though despite good relationships, they didn't have good policy, or at least foreign policy, with the Bushes. And he talked about 2008 without naming. He talked about Bush. He also talked about what happened after that. And I think when 2014, when you had a coup d'etat that was really sort of orchestrated by the U.S., there's no secret there. People are all worried about the conflict. Meanwhile, talk about printing money. We're printing money and sending money over to Ukraine. And one of the things that came out, one of the things that Israel confirmed was the fact that we already knew about this, but they said that a year and a half ago, they were going to sign a peace agreement. Russia was going to pull out. It was going to be done. But who came in? But Boris Johnson came in and put the kibosh on that, acting on the behalf of the United States. So that alone, you had something that was going to be peace. You have him talking about peace. I got that they want peace, right? But in order to, what they're talking about now is they want Crimea to be part, and that's long gone, right? And another thing that, and this kind of like touched a little bit my heritage. My heritage comes from Hungary over in Europe, and he talked about the fact that in parts of Ukraine, when he was on a road trip when he was younger, he was wondering why they were wearing these kind of weird outfits. He goes, "Is this like a costume? Is this like, are they going to somewhere?" He said, no, that's their native costume. Those are Hungarian traditional costumes, and they were speaking Hungarian. So they still, parts of Hungary what used to be parts of Hungary and the border with Hungary, they're still speaking Hungarian there.
Okay.
And he talked about, so, I mean, you could go back, when you go back to old borders, I mean, how far back do you go, right? Before the US's founding, the US didn't have any borders, right? Like, where do you put the limit? He was talking about history from 800 all the way on, but he was making some good points. And he talked about the denazification, okay? This is something we all knew. They wear it on their uniforms, okay? And you wouldn't think that Ukraine was a hotbed for this, but a lot of that's been put out. One thing he didn't talk about were the labs that were also taken out. There were like and the US said there weren't any labs, but then all of a sudden they came clean and said, oh, well, there might have been some labs. And so these labs are used for nefarious purposes, and those were taken out. So if your country is right next to a country that's got labs, it's got Nazis, it's got all this hostility, you took it out. I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying it's wrong. Was it right to invade? No. But all of a sudden, people are really okay with Ukraine defending its border and defending the onslaught, but they're not okay with Israel defending itself. Interesting there, right? And Israel gets hit, and Israel can't defend itself, but let's send billions, hundreds of billions of dollars from multiple countries over there. So running a little bit long on the rant here, but I just want to say
no, that's a solid rant. I mean, that's so critical because, if you think about from an economic perspective, there is a destabilization factor there, and there is a really dangerous game. And this dangerous game began, years and years ago. We saw it kind of reposition itself during the 2016 election cycle with Hillary talking about Russia, and the whole Russian hoax. And it was prior to that as well. It started back in 2015 with her, but you look at the narrative, how this is really, unfolded over the past number of years, and even under the current president of the White House under Biden, and his interaction with the Ukraine earlier when he was VP, and some of the things that he orchestrated, and the blackmail that took place over there, which referenced his son. So you really have to consider, what is the pay for play here? Why did they go in and support him? Why are they? Why at this moment in time do we have a proxy war fighting against Russia? Why are we funding it? What are we trying to accomplish? What's the not we, but our government, and this current administration, what's their long game with all of this? And it just seems like, right, yeah, there's got to be so much to it because from a economic perspective, it doesn't make sense. If we lead up to what happened in 2020 or 2021 when Biden took over power in this country, or his administration did anyways, we saw Russia was on the ropes financially. Iran was on the ropes financially. And within a short period of time, the price of oil skyrockets, right? Because we had almost achieved independence on the oil front, and the price of the barrel was coming down significantly. So economically speaking, Russia was suffering because they rely heavily on oil export. But we also saw the same initiative from 2008 to 2016 under the Obama administration, where Russia and even was a non-player in the Middle East prior to Obama coming into office. And then all of a sudden, in a short period of time, Russia becomes a significant player again in the Middle East. And then Biden opens up the gates to their economic well-being. And so why, so if you're going to enrich Russia and then you're going to fight a war against Russia, what's your long-term strategy? And then you're destabilizing the US dollar, you're destabilizing the region, but we also have a transfer of wealth over to China. We see, more manipulation of currency and a manipulation of BRICS. So is it about trying to bring in and getting rid of the status as a sole hegemonic power, because the U.S. has held that position since the fall of the USSR? We've been the sole superpower in the world. And now they're trying to rebalance that and try to figure out, how do we get another superpower? And is the next decade, is the next century going to be all about the Middle East and China? Are they going to be the primary superpowers, and the U.S. is going to be relegated to behind? I don't see that happening, because then, politically, from a freedom perspective, economically speaking, we're going to all be in turmoil. So now we may be positioning where we have the U.S., China, and a player out of the Middle East, and then how does Russia factor into it? Like it's a really bad game that they're playing, and how does that impact us financially, politically, and then how does that impact the crypto markets? Because all of this stuff is being weaponized right now, and it's we're kind of in turmoil. It'll be interesting to see how we come out of that in 2024.
Well, what it did was it pushed Russia to China, right? So you had Russia now be in alliance with China. He did get some things wrong. He said that China had surpassed, the U.S. years ago. That's not true, not yet. It's slated for another, they say the earliest 2030, but that wasn't right. But he was getting some digs in, right? He was landing some punches. But he said, but one of the things that happened was, like what Jeff was referencing, was that now they backed the ruble, which was mostly useless, but backed it by gold. Their currency became a little bit stronger, and then they had a deal to do $250 billion in trade with China, and they surpassed that already. So this you can see is like, where do you want them spending the money? Do you want them spending it in China? Do you want them, or do you want to cut them off with sanctions and tell them, because and whose border do you want to defend? Do you want to spend the money to defend their border over there, to have their state employees basically funding their pension plans? I mean, this is absolutely ludicrous. They're defending their borders, but we can't defend our borders at home. So at some point, I don't care who you are, they're losing a lot of big people. Bill Ackman, who still has the D in front of his name and can't figure out exactly what's going on. He might be the last one to know. He's still fighting it. He's arguing for this no-name candidate who's apparently running in the Democrat Party that no one knows or cares about, who's just a Democrat that might have a slightly different slant. Once you realize that the left party is the leftist party and is the communist party, I don't care. There are no crossing aisles anymore. There is no handshakes. There's nothing to do. But yet you see people like, Bitch McConnell, which I like to call him because he's a big crybaby, who's a Democrat, who's given them the money. They try to sneak it in this other bill there was a border bill that had nothing to do with the border. We don't have to go into that whole thing. But the bottom line is that we're going to send all this money over there. Whose money? And then you see what's happening with illegals coming into towns, and basically they're giving up their recreational centers that kids go to, especially in areas where kids need something to do after school, so they're not into drugs and doing bad things. And then you have now, I mean, and then you had in Denver, mayor coming out and said they're cutting back on other services for citizens because they're going to go ahead and fund this. And, when you live in a bubble long enough and you believe that and you start believing this communist sort of gifting to other, forget about citizens, you start having this leftist mindset, you forget that the real people don't subscribe to your point of view, but they live in a bubble and they think that everybody is partaking in that. Look at this. Mark Smithson. Thank you for that. Mark, beautiful. $3. Getting some good support today. And guys, it does help the show. Just because we have streaming software we got to pay for, we have other stuff that we do, we have design software, we have all this stuff. We love to do the show. We don't want to really come out of pocket. So this really helps a lot.
Yeah, appreciate that. And Chip, to your point, and it's a part of the interview yesterday when you hear him as a little bit propaganda, right? Because we have to consider where it's coming from. There was a lot of truth, from his perspective, what he was saying, and revelation on how he perceives the U.S. The guy is he's smart. He's not a stupid guy. He knows his history, knows his politics, knows his economics, obviously knows his leadership. And he's been president of Russia for the past 24 years. But when we look at, from the propaganda perspective, it is, where do we sit as far as GDP? The U.S. is still the largest GDP as far as GDP, but the problem that he was referencing also, and where China is a little bit further ahead, I think, is how we're printing money. But he's going to position that rhetoric a little bit. I don't think China's there. I think China has a lot of its own internal problems that they have to deal with. Part is the CCP and part is the capitalist economy. They always come into conflict with one another. They also have currency manipulation still. There's all these different factors of what could influence their economic growth over in China. but where the U.S. sits in comparison to China, China's hovering at 17.73 trillion. That was in 21. The thing is that their GDP was similar. Is still similar at 17.52 in 2023. But if we look at the U.S., we're hovering probably in the same position, probably around 23 trillion as far as our GDP. Japan is the closest third at 4.9. But then if we look at Russia, Russia sits at 1.7 trillion, 1.7 compared to our 23. I mean, it's so minuscule. I think Google does more than that. I think Elon Musk is and his companies and Apple, they're doing more in revenue than what we see in a country like Russia. India is hovering at 3.1, and India has, over all the countries, as far as a growth perspective, economically speaking, I think India serves as the biggest challenger to China and has the biggest upward potential. Moving from 3.1, they should be hovering in this same range. They should be number 3. They should eventually pass probably double what Japan is capable of, but it's going to take time for them to get there. And there's going to be a lot of turmoil in during that process. Yeah, but we're not that far away. If you're talking about 17 trillion to 23, we have a destabilization of our currency. People start dumping the U.S. dollar as a reserve currency. I don't know if they're going to do that. Chip, do you think that Europe and Latin America and some of these other countries, around the world, regionally speaking, so we get any country in Europe, any country in Latin America, are they going to have full reliance on a yuan or if there was a BRICS currency? Is there any member of BRICS that these countries would rely on to say, hey, that's going to be our reserve currency? That's who we trust.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I think that Europe is in a lot of trouble for a lot of different reasons, because they bent the knee and because of their leftist ideology. When you let the barbarians in the gate, the barbarians destroy. They destroy your legal system. They destroy your economic system. They'll bankrupt you because of what's happening here in the States. It's the same mindset. Don't think I'm just choosing Europe. It's the same mindset happening here. And when you think about this right here, look, contrast Putin to the resident in the White House. And I refer to him as the resident because honestly, that's the best thing you could call him. But says, I don't care who you are. This is funny. And this is the 0 cent coin right here because he has 0 cents. So this is Joe Biden on the 0 cents coin front and back. Right.
That'd be pretty cool to get one of those.
Yeah, it's like 0 cents. They're just missing the F in front of JB there. I think they just put an FJB there. That would complete it. And then Mark Smithson says Biden was actually in 3 states yesterday: confusion, unconsciousness, and disorientation. So the best part about really what happened this week is a report came out about, Biden took when he was a senator, when he was vice president, he doesn't have the right to have classified documents. Okay. But so what happened was they put a special, what do you call it? Special counsel on it. And the special counsel report came out and said essentially that he was an elderly man with a very poor memory, and it wouldn't make sense to basically prosecute him. That's kind of what it was. So he was having a emergency presser at 7 p.m., which he never does. He's usually in bed or he's knocked out or the meds are worn off by then, which we saw. And he made a very grave mistake of having this presser and taking questions. So he couldn't get through the prepared remarks. And then the long knives came out because that they've dumped him. It's over. They know that they're not. When the press unilaterally comes out, and I'm not talking about Ducey from Fox. I'm talking about all of the press came after him. Yeah. And when they had started saying Jeff had asked him, he was like, there's nothing wrong with my memory. And, he gets things wrong. He says that his son Bo died in combat. He died here. He's named multiple times. He had brain cancer. So he died in a hospital here, but he's gotten it wrong so many times that it's just sad at this point, right? It's elder abuse at this point. They prop him up. The man doesn't know where he is, doesn't know what's going on. And he talked about the rosary that he carried with him. He couldn't remember where it was from. He referred to the president of Egypt as Sisi from Mexico. So I was like, wait, Mexico has a border with Israel now? I'm like, it's just he he really and so the 25th Amendment is in play. If you don't think so, it looks to me like they've said, hey, kind of step down. He won't step down. I think there's this power play going down. But the 25th Amendment, that you remember Trump saying that, no, I don't have to don't worry about me in the 25th Amendment. Joe Biden has to worry about the 25th Amendment. And the 25th Amendment would be like if somebody's unstable or, if they do a cognitive test with him and he comes, I mean, it's already in the special report, right? And the guy who had all the interviews, his ghostwriter for the book, deleted all the audio files. Nothing to see here. He just deleted all the audio files. So there's a lot going on there. I mean, there's a whole.
They're setting the stage for it right now. We're starting to see it unfold. So by the time it gets to the convention, we're going to see some fireworks. There's a lot that needs to happen between now and October. We haven't seen the beginning of it yet, or I think that. Let me rephrase that. We're seeing the beginning of it right now. It's starting to unfold in the media in front of our eyes, where they're going to remove him. I don't see him going all the way through. This was a very important component of it, to see how they're trying to make him into this feeble old man that's forgetful, and you do that comparative with Trump, and they want to prosecute, but him they don't want to prosecute. And like you said, as a senator, he didn't have rights to that clearance to hold those documents, and whereas Trump did, So he had declassification powers, and Biden never did it during that period of time. Plus, he didn't have the authority to hide them in a trunk or put them anywhere else. Well, there goes my camera again. Damn, look at that.
Open AI, looking for $7 trillion. There you go, $7 trillion. Jeff, what happened? I don't know what's going on today. I wanted to get into some Ripple news here. This report came out from Masari, and so some interesting facts here about the NFT. So key insights that came out about the state of the XRP ledger in 2023. NFT mints increased 491% quarter over quarter, bringing the total NFT transactions up 170% quarter over quarter. And in Q4 23, there were actually 3.4 million NFT mints, over half of all mints since the XLS 20 standard was released. So think about that. If you had in Q4 of 23, we had 3.4 million, and that was over half of all the mints since the XLS 20. So that's pretty impressive. But that's also a lot to sustain because you don't have the traffic. It's a very small traffic, which is why Jeff and I are going to release our next badass chimps on a different chain, because there's just people talk about mooning and XRP boys, and it's going to the moon and fake partnerships, and it's going to be the reserve currency, but yet they can't support the ecosystem by participating in it. So that's bad. But don't worry, it's going to moon overnight, and you're going to have $589 per NFT per XRP. Total market cap of tokens on the XRPL increased by 47% quarter over quarter to 169 million. Sologenic Solo remains the dominant token by market cap, which is impressive. XRP market cap increased 21% quarter over quarter, and 97% year over year, with spikes following the positive regulatory news. The SEC's case with Ripple officially dismissed on October 19th, 2023. Well,
I don't think that's accurate.
No, that's not accurate. It's still going. Transactions were up 23% quarter over quarter. You read something like that and you go, are these numbers real? Because they just...
They just blew it. They just blew it.
Just made a big mistake, Jeff. And it's just... I wanted to also... so this is interesting. So Ripple is going to... Geez, I feel weird on this side here. It always feels weird. It feels wrong, Jeff. So Ripple X going to ETH Denver 2024. They put out these stats. Since 2021, the XRPL Grants Program, by the numbers. Just so we've mentioned this a couple of times, that we've known so many people, especially Panos and his Anados project, which is probably one of the most promising projects. He got denied. So people with real ideas and real thoughts and ideas, we applied twice, we got shut down. So, I mean, a lot of people get shut down. But if you're doing a carbon credit program that's going to make up a bunch of BS about a new tax that you can willingly pay these days, then you get funded, but you never hear about that project rugs, and you never hear about it anymore. 14 million in funding was awarded, 140. This is since 21, 14 million in funding, 140 plus teams awarded globally, 28 countries represented come build on the XRP ledger. Okay, fair enough. Now, Dirk from Xspector said, well, 14 million USD out of 1 billion distributed to 140 projects over 3 years.
Yeah.
On average, at 2,777 USD per project per month. An average developer's day rate, 700 to 1,200 a day. That's 2 days a month of development per project.
Yeah. That's
Pathetic.
it. As he breaks it down like that, I was running numbers on the calculator too, and I'm looking at that. So
it's a joke.
Yeah, it's really, if you draw a comparative, and we were talking about this the other day with Tony, Thinking Crypto, and you look at, the Ethereum Foundation, you look at some of the other development in space, in each individual blockchain space within community development, what kind of money is awarded? What kind of available funds are there? Here, you take 14 million over 3 years. It's such a small number over 140 projects. How many of those? What I want to know is, okay, you took 14 million, which is a drop in the bucket of the amount of money that's sitting in escrow by Ripple, that they're using to fund other things. Where does Ripple stand behind that? Do they have an obligation to help the Ripple X, given that it has the Ripple name in it? Do they have an obligation to help develop the space further? Is 14 million, should they be grateful that they gave even $1, that they received it? But if you have 140 projects with an average of, it'd be interesting, what does that average out per project then at 2,700? You can't even, what is it doing for them? Like, is it really helpful? Yeah. How many of those projects failed? That's what I want to know, because of lack of funds, because of lack of ideas, whatever it might be. Where is development in the Ripple X to really help push, like you'd mentioned, real projects, not just politically, aligning projects, if it's a carbon credit or if it's something to do with, any of their agendas or initiatives. Where is the reality of, hey, we got to develop this space further? And, honestly, I look at it, we talk a lot about Ripple. We look at what they're doing. They're doing some transformational things from a transfer of money thing, movement of money. But where are they going astray now, Chip, with this whole centralization? They want to talk about central bank digital currencies, and maybe that's the direction they're really moving in. Did they take advantage of all these people within the XRP community? Have they been taking advantage of that? Are they, what exactly are they doing? Like, and how is that impacting all these investors out there? That's what I would like to know. Overall, do they, what are your thoughts? And I would love to hear from everyone else out there. Does Ripple have some sort of an obligation to the community to help further develop the space? I think that's an important point.
Oscar says, damn, DS dropping truth bombs. Well, the truth bombs are about to get a lot crazier. Watch this. So, a lot of people, so basically, Dirk is saying that Xspector, and he has been blocked from Ripple X, and a lot of people at Ripple have blocked him. Now, this right here is, yeah, he's been vocal about it, but is he saying the wrong things? Is he listen, I mean, he couldn't get funding. He's self-funding this. I mean, Xspector's probably at $17-20 million at this point. It's self-funded. Not everybody can do that, but Dirk is, there's a lot of people and developers and stuff, and what it's going to actually take. But listen, I look at him as a leader in the space, as somebody's got a project that he doesn't want to just have a metaverse. He wants people to be doing payments inside there. So you walk into, let's say you go to the on the chain, and we have some exciting news we're going to be talking about very soon too, how this is going to play into not only the badass Yetis, but into on the chain, because we're building in the metaverse. And you can go to the on the chain and you can say, hey, you can go up there, you can buy some merch, right? And it can all be transacted in XRP. This is revolutionary, right? This is amazing. Evolution creates the revolution. So there were some other comments on this. Jack, formerly of Casino Coin, said, in my opinion, Ripple duped everyone in the building here when they needed it to look like not like a security. Now that their shills are blaming the devs for wanting a piece of the pie that was promised, fuck them all. Pretty harsh words, but this is somebody else. A token.
A lot of people are feeling that way.
A lot of people are feeling this way. I mean, honestly, if it wasn't for the 75,000 XRP holders that got on board with John Deaton, if it wasn't for John Deaton, there's no way it would have gone the way it's gone. It gets even
Exactly. Oh,
better
yeah.
though.
Yep.
So Dirk put out he put out a little poll here, and he said, if you claim to have 1 billion USD available to support and stimulate an ecosystem by incentivizing builders, if you claim to do this because you're looking for potential unicorns, does an average spend of 277,000 USD per chosen project per month, will that get you there?
Yeah.
You
No.
can see that I voted no. No, it won't. So now there's 19,000 people who don't build on the XRPL think that will get them there. So the fact that there's 20% of the people that actually think that sounds pretty good. $2,000, $2,700 a month. Well, how much is
It's nothing. Where's the support? We had reached out, through to Ripple X, tried to navigate that process. We had some serious questions to do technically. Then they said, go to Discord.
Yeah.
Go to the Discord and publish it there. Well, no. Ripple X is supposed to be there to help support builders. Where's the give us a moment in time. Give us an invite. Let us talk to you. Not even asking for financial support, asking for a technical question to be answered, that was critical. And they couldn't even spend the time to do that. They want to send you to the community to answer that. What's the purpose? What's the purpose of the Ripple X? Unless it's just a forum. Don't hire people. Don't have anyone working there. Just say Ripple X is a community-driven forum, and that's it. And that's what it's going to be about. And then Ripple might have a grant that could go through Ripple X that's strictly just a community forum. Don't say you're there supporting projects, because you're not supporting projects.
And this
you're
is
supporting a
just
community forum. That's
everybody.
So I think it's a little disheartening to see that they have this to see what's going on. But from Ripple's perspective, I don't see any. I think Ripple's got, and I said this the other day, Ripple's focused on building Ripple. They're not worried about the community. They've got a massive project with financial institutions that they're trying to develop. That focus on its own can't be detracted from by supporting this, development. They don't care. What do they really care? Do they need the community? They don't need they needed the community. They no longer really need the community. It's great. Rah, we're in the blockchain. It's all exciting. You're doing all this stuff on the community level. But Ripple as a whole, they have to do what they're doing to develop their company. Now, do you agree with the centralized, aspect of what they want to do with central bank digital currencies? Maybe yes, maybe no. Do you like, the direction they're moving? Are they revolutionizing the movement of money space? Yes, but that's their project. That's their company. That's what they're doing. Maybe they have a little bit of an obligation here. My opinion, I think they do have a little bit of an obligation to the XRP community to help develop the XRPL, and they should send some more funds to help develop that, because it helps further the crypto space. They kept saying, hey, we're at the forefront because the SEC is attacking us. We're on the forefront of saving crypto. Okay, well, how about save the XRPL and put $1 billion in there and really help. Take a little bit of your money, a little focus, hire, have that group actually do something that is net positive. And right now, I think it's dabbling. They're dabbling. Their focus is elsewhere. They're dabbling in the XRPL, and their focus on building Ripple.
But in that space last week, Jeff, David Schwartz was very candid in saying that they didn't get the traction they expected in the payment space. A lot of these institutions, JP Morgan has their own coin, Visa, MasterCard. Who's going to do it? I mean, who's left around to do it? Everybody's doing their own or using a different chain, right? Because of maybe part of that. So nobody cares. But Crown for XRP said day one of telling Ripple to support crazy ideas from companies and developers in the XRPL, like Zerpay and Expector and GoBayo and NFT projects here. And then we saw this, Panos got into this thing and he said, hey, I fully support this idea. 1 billion XRP was distributed to the XRPL Grants Initiative in 2021. 3 years later, only 14 million has been distributed. To give you an idea, other chains, let me open this up a little bit. This is what you were talking about, Jeff, such as Avalanche and Arbitrum, distributed hundreds of millions of dollars in a matter of months. Hundreds of millions. Not to just good existing projects, but the new ones that would build there or expand their app to their chains, but also gave millions to projects, specifically reward users for activity. The result? Massive exposure, an increase in newcomers, overall activity in their network. It's time to go big or go home. It's time to create several different initiatives and incentive programs for existing XRPL projects, for new ideas and the users. This is how the XRPL gets the attention it needs.
Yep.
So spot on.
Spot on.
And then I had commented on Panos saying, these funds invested in Forte could have supported projects on the XRPL. Now, if you remember, a few years ago, Ripple gifted Forte, which is a gaming company, $100 million. And how did that work out? So nothing came of it that I'm aware of. Dirk also made the comment that, these funds stolen from Chris Larson's wallet could have helped as well. So I thought that was pretty funny. Panos said 100 million to one, which was Forte, that didn't benefit the XRP at all. There's no stipulations with that money. Here's 100 million. Good luck. Have fun. $100 million. So Panos says, imagine $1 million to 100 XRPL projects and innovative ideas, or even 500,000 to 200 projects.
Right.
With such amounts per project, most would be able to build something great.
Right.
And I have no problem with Ripple to be a shareholder on these projects, taking a percentage so that they profit from the success too. Come on, Jeff. This right here makes a lot of sense.
Where did the 100 million go?
To Forte.
Oh, right.
Forte was a gaming company. This might have been 4 or 5 years ago, but it wasn't even to promote the XRPL. They said, we're not putting in stipulations, but we believe in I don't know what they said. Some reason they gave him $100 million. And no one knows. That just went into a deep, dark crevice. No one ever saw it.
Probably had something to do with carbon credits or being carbon neutral. Who knows? But this is the problem, and Panos hits it out of the park here. If you truly cared about developing this space at a rapid pace, not just let it kind of, move slowly and trying to figure it out and stumble, and you want to be competitive, and I think Tony brought up another good point when we talked to him, which is why is the XRPL always one step behind everybody else? Why are we coming up with the NFTs after everybody else did NFTs? Why is the XRPL, always leading from behind or just following? They're not even leading. They're just always behind. I thought, so, but here's the point. If they said, hey, you know what, we're going to give $1 million to 100 XRPL projects. Holy shit. Could you imagine how fast those would develop? Some of them would fail. Some would just blow up the space, especially if you had good criteria. Say, that's an amazing idea. Let's develop that further. Here's $500,000. You kind of thought it out. And by the way, here's a developer. Here's an XRPL developer we think you should work with because we think they could add tremendous value to what you're doing. Here's $1 million that'll help you pay for the developer's time and do other things that you have to do to develop the space. To me, that would be massive. Just do it one time. Just come out there and say, hey, we're going to pick 100 companies with the best projects, submit your projects, and each one of them is going to be awarded $1 million paid out over the next year, to help you develop this space. Here's some of the criteria. Here's what you're going to do. Here's the support mechanism that we have in place to make that happen. But instead, they give $2,700 a month to a project that doesn't do anything for the project. Even if they gave it all at once, let's say they gave $20,000 to someone. What's the $20,000 going to do? What are you going to do with that? Can you build a website? I mean,
joke.
What can you do with 20,000? It's like, oh, thank you, but no, thank you. There were some projects out there that could have really have used their help. What was that video platform that crashed and burned? Cinnamon. Where was their help there? Hey, you guys are trying to take on YouTube. Holy shit. That could be really amazing. Hey, why don't we help you do it? Why don't we step in and give you some, advisors to help you actually change the name of it and then come up with like an amazing platform that can really compete with YouTube. And we'll get 100% behind this. Nope. They didn't do that.
No. And Coil was one of the ones. Yeah, Coil was just a little bit early in my opinion. Plus they loosely had a sort of an idea. They tested it with blogs, and then they were going to have like eliminate paywalls. It was just kind of murky, but they got a lot of funding. They eventually went under. They didn't have enough to sustain it. There's nothing to sustain it. Pay $5, and the idea was you could eliminate paywalls. I mean, at the time I wrote I wrote the goofiest of blogs, you know, and I got thousands of XRP just for posting it up there. And you know, our YouTube channel made a little bit of XRP from, you know, people that had the $5 membership, and micropayments were streamed to YouTube. Kai over there from XPunk's project, one of the most successful NFT projects, period, on, you know, next to Xspectre. But he says, I'm not going to stay quiet anymore. I'm done. It's unfair towards 50 plus projects with hardworking teams. Time to step up. Interest has never been this far aligned, with one group having their heart in the right place, fighting for survival, and the other being puppets to shift the narrative towards centralization. Now, you can tell who he's talking about here, but he's not naming names. Right. There are two sides based on interest, and it's extremely obvious what these interests are. One side is a relative small group of businesses with way too much say on a so-called decentralized ecosystem, picking winner based on aligned interest. The other side is an extremely large group of people with a big voice. However, due to the first group, they don't have the resources to make a difference. The interest of group one, generating profits for shareholders, stakeholders, and the business, pretending to take care of projects, creators, artists, startups, and individuals. The interest of group two are creating an ecosystem of builders, creators, projects, and individuals working together to create a decentralized ecosystem. Group one, if you haven't figured out, is Ripple, understands the vision of decentralization. The other group participates in decentralization. Ripple tries to manipulate the conversation and narrative through marketing communications. The other acts as principles and fights back against a centralized nature. How do you identify this? Just check who acts and who talks, who invests in their own resources, times, team, and reputation, and who is dependent on the centralized nature and acts like they're willing to coexist instead of cooperate. The vision of blockchain is getting diluted by greed. I'm Kai. I believe in my heart's in the right place, and I will keep fighting for everyone that has their heart in the right place too. We're all building for a better future. This is not the future I want for all of us. And I'd also said, hey, you know, I concur. You know, well said, well put. And people look at it like everyone's attacking Ripple. No, we're not attacking Ripple. Ripple's the one that said they were going to support the ecosystem. And Jeff and I didn't say that. Other creators didn't say that. Builders didn't say that. They said it, and they failed miserably on their promise. Now, when everybody got behind them and supported, and 75,000 people came out, and 3,000 people signed affidavits and got them notarized, they stepped up. And in my opinion, Ripple's fallen is stepping down. They just missed the mark. They made a promise and they fell woefully. But the good news is they can still make good on that promise. Don't give the $100 million to some gaming company. That made 0 sense. Put it into the ecosystem. And when you have Avalanche and all these other chains that are blowing by and doing stuff, and also too, you know, I feel that the side, you know, the smart contracts, another thing we talked about, Tony, with the other night, just still don't have smart contracts. So what did that do? Who had to build the smart contracts? Wheats' team and Chamberlain. They had to go out and build the smart. They had to do a side chain to build it because they wouldn't allow. The way I sort of think is they sort of put the block on having the Hooks Amendment. Like the Hooks Amendment went nowhere. That would have brought smart contracts to the XRPL. Now, maybe there's good reason for it. Maybe they thought it'd be too heavy. Maybe they thought it could be threatening to how the XRPL works. But come on, we still don't have smart contracts. Meanwhile, you have Vitalik Buterin, just a kid, ends up on Stefan Thomas as the chief tech officer over at Ripple at the time, couch surfing. They start talking about smart contracts. This kid doesn't get a visa. He ends up going out and building Ethereum. The first thing they want is smart contracts. So come on, you guys missed the boat time and time again. It's time to start. It's time for all this chatter and goofiness. They're sitting on 44 billion XRP, which is valued right now, say the 50-cent mark, at $25 million, $25 billion. They're sitting on $1 billion, Jeff.
It's a shit ton of money. Take $1 billion, invest it in the ecosystem. 1 month, right? Take it out of escrow, invest it into the ecosystem. Next month, take it out of escrow, sink it into the ecosystem. Third month, take that $1 billion, invest it into the ecosystem. That's it. And I think that the greed, I don't want to say greed, but the centralized focus of Ripple as a company, which is promoting Ripple and developing, what they're trying to do, That's what's detracting from all of this. They have one initiative. It's to build their company. If David Schwartz says, hey, we underestimated on payments, I say that's bullshit. They didn't underestimate anything. They knew it was going to be a tough road. I don't care what he says. Brad Garlinghouse knew it was a tough road. Banks aren't just going to say, "Oh, hey, you created this great thing. Yeah, we're gonna leave. We're just gonna come over to you guys." And yeah, banks are notorious for taking a long time to do things. Otherwise, they wouldn't be stable places to put money in. If they just made spur of the moment decisions. Prove yourself. Prove that you're a legit contender, and then they'll move over. And that's going to take time. 10 years. Is that enough time? You developed it, you floated out there, you had a massive lawsuit, by the SEC coming at you. Is that enough time to prove it? Do you really have a better solution? Or is it just one more solution that's out there? Like you'd mentioned, JP Morgan's trying to create their own. Everyone's trying to create their own. Are they going to create good solutions? Is Ripple that much further ahead with RippleNet? I think they had some really, dynamic solutions with ODL to get rid of Nostro and Vostro accounts. But is that, dynamic solution enough to help save money, for these financial institutions? Did they get it yet? Maybe they're just a little bit early. It could be a 15, 20-year rollout, to get their company really in place little by little. They'll generate revenue, they'll make money, but to really be entrenched and to unseat, 10,000 banking institutions from their current solution using Swift. Holy crap. Did they not think that Swift was going to fight back? Did they not think that the political interests around the world were going to fight back? They knew that. So I think David Schwartz is full of shit by saying what he said. I don't believe him. I don't think that they underestimated. I think they 100% estimated exactly what the initiative was, and they're building their company. I think it's all fluff for the community to say that, because they knew it was going to take time. And so I don't know. That's where I stand.
They're getting into tokenization, which is the right place for them to be. And, Ripple should be concerned about Ripple. They've got shareholders, private investors
exactly
that they want to look out. That's great. But if you want, how this stuff works better is you attract developers to the XRPL, and people, they're leaving in droves. And Jeff and I, when we were talking to another chain, they're like, what do you guys need? How much money do you guys need? What do you want to do? Now, in all fairness, there's some things that with what we were looking to do, they just didn't have the capability. So they're like, that's okay. We as long as you can make it part of it, we'll be okay with that. They didn't even say you had to use the chain, but they're like giving us resources, people, time, money, and we were going to them. We got a meeting with them. We couldn't. But here's what Ripple said: F you, go to the Discord. Oh, no, it's a legitimate project. Here's our white paper. Here's what we're doing. Here's what we're rolling out. And Jeff and I were trying to solve it. It's still there. It's just it's taking a back burner. But a real problem that exists for a lot of people. We thought it was a novel idea. We're looking for investment money we had investment from a company over in the Netherlands that was funding the project. So we didn't need money from them. We weren't asking them for money. We're asking them for technical expertise with the developer to help us make sure we're on the right road. And they said, go to the Discord. Oh, okay, great. Meanwhile, when we asked because it was let's just say it was a big organization that was looking at integrating this as a sort of a beta test, and they brought some other big organization in there. I'm being very broad in scope. And then we said, well, let's talk to so-and-so, because this organization here has a partnership with this chain, and that chain was willing to give us anything. Now, is this the way it's supposed to work? That's a bunch of bullshit, but I mean, that's just the way it is. Anyway, we're out of time, guys. I wanted to thank Rough Rican for gifting those 5 on the chain memberships, and also Mark Smithson for the $3 super sticker there. Really appreciate that, guys. That does help us tremendously. And that's all I have right now. We're not going to be on tomorrow night because there is a Super Bowl going on here, and I'm actually rooting for the San Francisco 49ers. I never thought I'd root for anything in San Francisco, but tomorrow I will be a San Francisco fan. Just for a few hours. I don't even know if I feel like watching it, to be honest with you, since my team's not in it. But that's all I have. Jeff, you want to say? And we're not going to. What's to say, really? What do you got, Jeff? Anything?
No, that's it. We got to hold everything to account, as we move forward in this space. I still stay very optimistic when it comes to crypto. I stay very optimistic in terms of where things can go with the XRPL. But I also know that in the crypto space, most of it right now is just based on FOMO, and that's kind of where things are being led. But we see adoption of Bitcoin on a global scale. It then kind of trickles down to the other cryptos. We see development going on still, significant development within Ethereum. We saw all these other blockchains and chains coming up with development. XRPL is just slow to the gate right now. And I think it's going to take a little community effort, like the 75,000 that got behind, Deaton in the intervention. It's going to take that momentum to get the XRPL to the next level too. But I think the people are there, the drive is there, the desire is there. Let's see. Now Kai is on the forefront. He put it out there. Let's see if he can help lead this community forward, because he seems to be the outspoken one now. He's put himself. Maybe he could become a representative of the people.
Yeah, Dirk's been leading the way, but
Dirk too.
Yeah, I mean, really leading
There's
the
a
way.
couple good ones. Yep.
Building really awesome project. I mean, Xpunks is like, and not only that, but Xpunks is going to the moon. Literally, they're actually landing. They're actually sending that the code up there that will reside in the moon. It's the people that have Xpunks. It's pretty cool. It's actually literally going to the moon. So they're doing a lot of good stuff. Cool, and they're also on ordinals too. They release them on ordinals on cross chain.
Very cool.
This is what gets exposure. So you put Xpunks over there and you realize, oh, there's a whole other project over here. So seeing an Xpunk with the big X on the face over on ordinals is pretty cool. So it's just great. You root for all the chains. Listen, we'd love you to go to XRP.cafe and get one of our, either one of the badass Yetis. But hey, go support the ecosystem. You like, hey, you might find another one that's that just doesn't resonate with me, but I like this other one. Support the ecosystem, man. Buy NFTs, support creators that are putting the time in. You can go to XRP.cafe. You can go to on XRP. They're both great marketplaces for NFTs. So that's all I have to say. And here we go. Norseman, good time to be a Chiefs fan.
Mm-hmm.
It's also a good time to be a Mahomes breaking records.
That's it. That's all we got.
I'd like something broken there, but it wouldn't be a record. So can't take another Chiefs. Can't take it anymore. I can't do it, man.
That's all we got.
Yeah, I want to see the face on the loss. I want to see the whining. I want to see the helmet breaking. I want to see the crying. That's what I'm going to look for. And who knows? I'm not saying they're not a great team, and then Kelsey and the whole thing with do we want to see a vaccine salesman? Made $20 million for that. $20 million to go peddle some serious BS. I think that's ridiculous. And one of the reporters, it was a female reporter, had asked Kelsey this week, what is the allure with you, and why are people so interested in you and Taylor Swift? And he said, because he said something like, and I'm paraphrasing, something because of their values. I'm like, okay, vaccines. I'm sorry, that's no. But and then they're also talking about, why is Mayorkas giving a briefing on the Super Bowl about safety? Something seems afoot here. Something's odd, seems weird. Talking about safety. They're talking about, you had the sheriffs come out. The sheriffs usually meet with the president, but the president refused to meet with the Sheriff's Association. So he met with Christopher Wray over there at the FBI. Or does he run the FBI? CIA, FBI. And he had said that, it's not a matter of if there's going to be an attack. It's a matter of when. That's what he told the Sheriff's Association. Then I started talking about the Super Bowl. So I don't know, man. Something seems like there's a lot of chatter about this. Like, are they suspecting something? Are they worried about drones? What are they worried about over there?
Or they just like to pontificate?
That too. Just love to scare people. So that's all we got, guys. We will see you on the next one. Thank you to everybody for being here. But the next one will be Wednesday. Enjoy the Super Bowl. Go Chiefs. Go San Francisco. Whoever you want to win. May the better team win. Might not be
Wednesday. Wednesday's Valentine's Day.
Oh, okay. Well, then it won't be Wednesday either. I'll be out to dinner. So it might be next Saturday. But look, my heart tells me the Chiefs are going to win. and it's going to be it's going to be a handily win. It's probably going to be by at least 2 or 3 touchdowns, but we'll see.
All right, we'll see.
So I just don't think San Francisco is going to be honest with you, but it'll be fun to root. Always fun to root for the underdog. That's all we got, guys. We'll see you guys on the next one. Chip,
next one.
Jeff.
Are you down with OTC? Please like, subscribe, and click the bell to be notified when the next video drops.